Okay, it's time to start putting together the UI for the character. And actually we've already worked a little bit on that along the way. Basically creating the UI for the character means making sure that all the controls that the animator will need to effectively animate the character are there, and they are easy to use, understand, and access. So let's take a look at that. For example, we already have here a control for our shield. So we have that down. We've already made a bunch of controls for certain parts of the character. We're only going to work on the things that are missing and making sure that the character works well as a well, a standalone entity that you can import into other scenes. So let's take a look at that. First, I'm going to do a little bit cleanup here. Take these weight containers, put them in the weight containers group locator. There they are. Pardon me. And let's check out our deformers over here. We can see we have a bunch of folders everywhere, which seem to be okay. These influences are part of our belt curves, if I recall correctly. Let's see what they're doing. Yeah, they're deforming the belt curves. So let's put them inside of the form folder. Let's put this guy down here. Let's call him the form folder belt rig. Okay, and we're gonna put them in there. And I guess I'll put the containers also in the same folder. This is just for organization purposes. It doesn't really do anything to our rig because it's just a deforming folder. If it was a normalizing folder, then it would be a different story. Sorry. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have. If we go back to our schematics, we'll see that we have different workspaces. And we have clavicle and arms and feet and legs and stuff like that. So there are a few settings on the rig that we have been controlling via nodes and some of their channels, but they didn't have an actual control for them on screen. So for example, over here we have the IK-FK blending control for both arms, but we can't expect the animator to come here to change this setting over here all the time. So let's just create a few objects that we're going to use to control these the values on these nodes. So let's start by going back to our items list, and let's collapse our groups. And I'm going to create a new group locator. Let's bring it in here, and I'm going to call this one rig controls. Okay, so we're gonna put in here everything that is related to the controls for the rig. So let's start with one locator, and let's bring him up, put him in that group, and I'm gonna duplicate him a few more times. Sorry. And what I'm going to do is use these four, actually 5 and 6, as controls for different parts of the rig. So we're going to have 2 of them, one for each arm, then 2 more for each leg, one for the torso, and one for the neck and head. So let's start, for example, with this one over here. Let's move him up. And this one is going to be for the right arm, sorry. Let's put him somewhere around there, okay? And let's enter some numbers that we can remember more easily. Minus 270 millimeters and 1.5 meters. Something like that. Actually, it's a little bit too high. Let's do 1.45. There we go. And we're gonna give him a different display Let's say that it's going to be a plane. It's not going to be solid. Let's make him smaller. Actually, yes, I'm going to make him solid, so it's easier to identify than the rest of the controls on the rig, because these guys are going to hold more like settings for the entire rig, and we're going to make them aligned to the view so it's always facing our current view. Okay, and we're going to call him control right arm controls. There you go. So now that we have this guy, actually I'm going to delete locator number 2, duplicate this one, call him left controls, and just transfer him to the opposite side on X. There we go. So now we have 2 of them. I'm going to assign them a color later. And let's do the following. We're going to take this guy and bring him into our schematic over here, which is the clavicles schematic and arms. So this is the right arm controls. Here are our right arm settings. So what we need to control, we need the IK blending. Okay, so right now it's set to 0, which means that the arm is using FK, but this can go up to 1 and the arm is going to be in IK mode. So it goes from 0 to 1, which means FK to IK. So let's add a user channel that will allow us to do that on this control. So we're going to call him arm blending FK, and let's add a few dots, IK, and it's going to be a float going from 0 to 1. So as you can see, we get our channel excuse me, our channel right there. And let's see what it does. If I wire it right now directly to our arm, let's unhide the arm controls. Where's the right arm? There we go. So let's see, we have a little bit of animation right there. That's the as you can see, that's the FK arm, but I can go and set this to 1, and now the arm stays in place because now it's using the IK arm. So this way the animator will have a much easier time setting up the behavior for the arm. Okay, so we have this down. Let's do the same for the opposite side. What value did I leave this guy on? 1. Let's set it back to 0. And let's do the same for our other locator. And we're going to create the same channel. Sometimes you just have to add a little character at the end and then delete it to tab and have the channel name be set correctly, or you can just press enter. It's gonna set it anyway. So we have the exact same channel and we wire that to the other node we have there. Okay, so far so good. We have our arm IK FK blending set already. What else do we have? We have here some auto clavicle weights, and these are used to determine how the clavicle is going to behave when the character is in IK mode. So let's add those to our user channels for these items. So we're gonna call this one auto clavicle weight. Again, from 0 to 1, and we're gonna wire this one. You can see that the rig is using a value of 0.2, so let's set that as our channel value, and let's just wire it directly to this node in particular. And let's repeat that again for the opposite locator, and set it to 0.2, and wire that again to the corresponding node right there, and we're done. So now, for example, what the animator can do is come here, set the IK weight to 1, and let's take our arm over here and let's bring it up like so. But now he can control how much of the auto clavicle behavior he needs to have based on where the arm is pointing. So he can set it to 0 if he just wants to turn it off, or to a higher value if he wants the clavicle to really move with the arm. Okay? So that's what these controls are going to do for us. Let's reset this guy. There's one thing though. The animator might not like the idea of having to come here to the user channels tab every time. Maybe he's doing something different somewhere else. So there's something we can do to aid with that. We can come to the assembly tab, and here in the utility section set the command to the channel haul tool, for example. So what that's going to do is these commands are executed every time you select the item. So now when he selects it, he's going to get this little pop-up window that allows him to set the values right there on the viewport, and when he's done, he can just hit the Q key to get rid of it. So that's very helpful. So we're gonna leave that on for this guy, and we're gonna do the same for the opposite side. So it's same thing. When you click on it, you get your little pop-up window, and you can set your values. So that's pretty much it for our controls over here. I don't know why Modo hid the connections. That's actually quite interesting. That's it for this rig. Let's see what else we have here. We have a hand space node, which is also controlling how the hand is oriented. So let's also wire this one in. So let's add another channel. Hand space. And it's going to go from arm to world. Okay. And again from 0 to 1. And this is for the right side, so let's wire that. Perfect. So we're gonna test it in a second. I'm just gonna add the same channel to this guy. Yeah, that happens when I don't specify the channel. So let me just copy the name on this one. Let's go back to this one, add the user channel. There you go. Min, max, 1. Perfect. And let's wire that. Perfect. Let's test it. Let's see. Let's move our arm control. And let's change this. And actually I got the name backwards. It should be first world, which is the left side, which is what the hand is doing right now, and then arm, so that the hand follows the arm. So we can very easily change that just by going to the user channels. Let's click on the channel, right click and say edit user channel. And now here you can edit sorry, first world and then arm. Then I hit tab and fix also the internal name. And I'm done. So now it's reflecting the name correctly. And let's do this one too. There we go. Cool. So now we have our controls for the arms working correctly. Let's bring them up a little bit. And we're going to get them to move. So we need to decide based on what they're going to be moving. And I am inclined to attach these guys. Well, not attach them literally, but to dynamic parent them to maybe the clavicles. So let's bring this guy down. Sorry. So that way the clavicles go up, these guys will move up too. So let's see, what can we parent constrain them to? So we have this joint right here, which has this clavicle end, and I think I'm gonna do it to the clavicle end. That's gonna be my target. So let's turn on setup and compensation, and control click clavicle end, and dynamically parent this guy. And let's find the one on the opposite side and dynamically parent our other friend. And now if I rotate my clavicle, there we go. Our control goes up and down with the arm, and that way it remains fairly accessible. Lastly, let's color them. Let's say we're gonna give them a fill color of, let's look for something. Something that makes it obvious that they are important controls, but I also don't want them to be too distracting. Yeah, for example, something like that. And then a lighter wire color. Okay, so we are done with the controls for the arms. Let's continue in the next video. We're going to do the ones for the legs, and we're going to keep going torso, head, and all that until we have all of our controls easily accessible. Actually, before moving on, sorry about that, I just noticed we forgot a few extra controls down here, which are the upper arm twist bias and lower arm twist bias. So we have both for each arm. So let's add those channels to our controls over here. upper arm twist bias, and let's see if I can add the same channel to this guy immediately. Yeah, no, I just need to do this one time so that it refreshes the channel name down here. Okay, and now lower arm twist bias. In both cases the value we're using was 0.5. I could have added that as part of the definition of the user channel we're using by setting the default value to 0.5, and that way it's the default value for the entire scene. Is not an edit as it is in the case of these two channels. Now it doesn't I think it's not going to make any difference, but it's something you can do. So let's move these guys down here, and let's see, I want to make sure that the values are correct. 0.5, 0.5. I missed this one. 0.5. There you go. And now we can wire them. So we have, this is the right side, our right control, upper arm and lower arm. So let's wire the upper arm over here, the lower arm over there. And now the same for the left arm. The upper arm goes here and the lower arm goes there. And this allows the animator to also control how much twist he wants on the hand. So for example, if we take this guy and we rotate it like so, we can then come in here and let's say we have a lower arm twist bias more biased towards the top of the arm or more biased towards the hand. So he can fine-tune the formations this way. One thing that would be useful to do, let me just reset our controls over here. There you go. It's let's reorder the channels on this guy a little bit, because now we have mixed like some of the main controls with some more advanced controls. So what we're going to do is add a user channel. You can add them directly here in the channel list, and we're going to call this one advanced controls, and this guy is going to be a divider. I'm sorry. So it's a channel that basically does nothing. It's just going to be dividing stuff, and we're going to bring it up over here, and let's bring up the hand space above it. So we have the arm blending and the hand space, then the divider, and then these clavicle weight and the bias controls. So now if we go to our user channels, you can see we have here the advanced controls divider. Sorry. And we have this one that Modo creates by default with the name of the item. Okay, so let's do the same for our other control. Let's add an advanced controls divider, and let's bring it up, and let's bring up the arm hand space control. So as you can see, we have our controls now separated that way. You don't see the divider over here though, and I'm sorry. We'll cover a different way of doing this, so that you can see how it's done. It's a different way of presenting the UI that would allow you to see the divider. So for now, I'm gonna move on to the legs of the character, and then we can check that out. Actually, let's do that right away. I'm gonna show you an alternate way of presenting such a UI. And actually this one, I have to give credit to a user whose name is Chris O'Reilly. He's the one that found this way of dealing with the UI for the controls that you might want to set up this way. So I'm just borrowing his approach. And basically what he does is he takes the channels that we've created for this control object, the channel sets, and he creates, the channels on the control object, and he creates a channel set from them. So let's, for example, call our channel set arm right global controls. Okay, so it's a channel set from the selected channels. We click on OK, and as you can see, we get a different UI, this time with the divider on it. So that's pretty useful. And now what you have to do is, if this channel set is right now displayed because it's selected here in the groups tab. If I deselect it, then we get this. The channel set is still there, but we get our old UI, which is not what we want. We want to get rid of that. So let's close the channel set display. As you can see, you select it and you close it with this little X right there. So what we need to do is to tell our control that instead of displaying this UI, we want the other one. And that's very easily done. What we need to do is to see what command is being fired when we select the channel set, and replace our command over here with that one. So let's take a look. When I select this guy, actually let's do that again. I'm gonna bring up this little divider over here, which brings up our command history. So here you can see which commands are executed when you do stuff on the Modo UI. So I'm gonna select my channel set, and as you can see, the command is right there. So I'm gonna click on it, and I cannot copy it directly here, but if you click on it, it's gonna appear down here. So let's select that. Let's copy it, and let's go back to let's close this guy, go to our control, and now replace the command with that one. Okay, so what that's going to do is every time I select this control, it opens up the channel set UI instead of the channel hall. So you can use either UI. It's exactly the same. It's just going to allow you to drive the channel values directly here in the viewport. This one, as you can see, takes a little bit more space than the other one. So you decide exactly which one you want to use. I'm just throwing this out there so you're aware of the possibilities and the options that you have available to you. And again, this one goes with a thumbs up to Chris O'Reilly for discovering this alternate workflow. So let's keep going now with the rest of the character.